I know we're already recording. Is this in the show? I don't know. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Visible Kindness. And I need to make I need to just copy paste the intro every time because I get amazing guests. And today we have Hailey Rank with you, and I've been following her for a while now, and we're like parallel when it comes to kindness. I love what she's doing. Her content is so great, but not just her content, it's what she's doing with herself that really makes a difference. And I wanted to have her on the show, so I asked her, and it turned out to be a great thing. So let me give you some background on her. She says that her whole purpose is to share things that bring joy and teach people how to feel happy even when life is hard. Are you kidding me? See, we're parallel. This is exactly how I run. And she says, it's not about spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. It's all about acknowledging the hard parts and loving yourself through them. You deserve to be happy and to feel loved. And that's a deep comment. It's not just, hey, be happy, because there's something about kindness. There's something about being kind to yourself that is far more than just how do you do that? So I as usual, I look at all my guests' contents to find out, what are they doing? What have they got going? What's happening? And I can tell you this much, you definitely want to check out everything she's doing because I've enjoyed everything. So on her Facebook intro, it says, she doesn't know I'm doing all this. Her Facebook intro says, I will do my best to bring you joy. It's why I'm here. And when I watch her on Facebook, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so great. She always makes me smile with what she's doing. Like the clip you made recently of the butterfly that you saw this butterfly on the ground, and you pick up this little butterfly and you're like making it get warm, and then it just takes off again. I'm like, it was just incredible how you gave kindness to a butterfly, but at the same time that kindness went out to people that saw you do that. And you do so much stuff that's so natural. I love it. On your website headline, it says this: I am so many different things, and underneath it all, my mission in Earth is to spread joy. No matter what channel, profession, hobby, is to spread joy, yours and mine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about this on the show. This is such good stuff. And then the other one I loved as well was your YouTube description. When we do YouTube, I can't even remember what my description is. It has something to do with kindness. But you said this: my name is Hailey. I feel like I have been put on this earth to spread smiles and joy after a childhood scattered with trauma. And I did not know that. And I'm so proud of you. That's one word, but that you had the strength and, to go ahead and talk about these things. And it just kind of popped in there. And then you said, I recognize that I still want to make people smile, and I choose joy after processing hard things. This is going to be a good episode. Hailey, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's so great. I'm glad we bumped into each other, and there's so much that we can talk about, and we were talking about even before we started recording. But I wanted to ask you. I like to start out asking people, just give us some background on where were you born, and I don't know, what job did you have? What is part of your story? You mentioned the word trauma, and just kind of bring us into the life of Hailey Rank.
Oh man, so I was born in Clearwater. So there's a hospital called Morton Plant, and it's amazing. It's actually where my son was born too. So that was kind of special to have that full circle moment. But that's not far away from where I am now. I've lived in Florida in the Tampa Bay area for most of my life, except for when I lived in Utah and then also South Florida. Utah might seem kind of random, but it's the only place that they teach a type of silat, which is a martial art that they have in Indonesia. It's the only place in America that they teach it. So that's where we went.
My sister, she teaches martial art, and she is, I don't know, how tall are you?
5'5".
5'5". So she's about the same, and she's really thin. She's there's nothing to her. But I've discovered that if somebody knows martial arts, you better be careful, because she can get me. It's quite surprised. Anyway, okay, so wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I lived. This is actually the house that I grew up in. My grandparents. This is my grandparents' house, and also now mine. But they were the most constant form of stability because my mom was only 18 when she had me, and she was not ready to have a kid. And I'm very grateful because, and she's open about this too, she had abortions before me. I could have very likely not been here. And I'm very grateful for
Wow.
that, that I am. And, but she definitely wasn't ready. Um, my biological father sucks, and there might be some stuff that I blocked out. And if it's there, it's there. But I understand that I'm safe now. Um, and my brother's biological father is, I generally try to believe and normally believe that there's good in everybody, but I think his good got erased a long time ago because he is a, a very painful and driven person. Um, but my brother, like, here's the story of like the two people who went through traumatic things and one who decided to take the positive road and one who didn't. My brother's in prison. Um,
Right
and
now?
right now, currently, he has for throughout our childhood, like he had been in juvie and then jail and boys' homes and like all these different things, but he just kept making really not good choices. But the most recent time, he had just gotten out, and it was like Easter. Yeah, it was Easter. So I guess it was like 2 years ago. And he had gotten out, and we thought, okay, like he's gonna maybe make some good choices this time. Like 5 years, I think it was 4.5 years he was gone before. Like he missed his nephew, yeah, nephew being born, like missed the first couple years of his life. And my husband was like looking around, where is the heck's my nail gun? Like he's got all the Milwaukee tools. Like I love your red and black. He'd probably love it because like he has Milwaukee everything. And he's like, I can't find it. Like, I need my nail gun. Like the nails are right here. I wouldn't put the nails not with it. Like if I took it, I would put it. So he's looking on the cameras, not because he thinks someone stole it, but because he thinks he might have put it in his truck and not realized it. Or like done something. They put it in the trailer. And then you see my brother, like the week before Easter, walking out of the garage with a nail gun. And then he comes back and he gets something else. But my husband was so mad. He is a very calm and peaceful person most of the time, but he was so mad because he didn't just steal from him. He stole from now us. That's his family. And we went back and forth. And me, having grown up with my brother, I was like, just call the cops on him. But my husband's like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one. We gave it to God, the universe. We said just 3 days later, he got arrested for the same exact thing at another people's house. And I was like, well, that was the most instant response I've gotten in a
Wow.
while.
So how long was he out?
He was only out for, I think it was less than a year. I think he got out like around his birthday, and his birthday's in July. So like it was less than 6 months.
You know, I don't know why, but it's something I watch. I watch a lot of shows about people that get into jail and then their life, and then they get out, and so often they go back in. And I think I'm getting it because it's something usually something has happened to them in the past, and then they're stuck with the lifestyle in prison, which we don't know, but it's different, and a lot of them have said it's better for them to be there because it's so hard to get back into society. And I would imagine to some point your brother's probably the same way. I don't know. What do you think?
So it's so hard because throughout the years, like you think like after someone's been in there for a while, they might start saying positive things or they're reading things and like they finally start sounding like, oh, it's gonna be good. And then he got out and he did that again. And I was like, well, dang it. So now as I'm hearing him say like certain things, but he did apologize. He apologized without blaming, which is the first time he's ever done that. Like I was mad, but like whatever. Anytime someone hurts me, I literally just would like them to just acknowledge that maybe they might have hurt me, even if they still wouldn't have done anything different. They didn't want to actually hurt me. That's the only part. And he apologized, like a well-written letter. So
Wow.
I'm just praying that like this is the thing that like he's like the next motivational speaker who was like I was in jail this many times, like I thought that I was never going to make it out like emotionally and spiritually, and here I am like praying for that because it would help a lot of people. Um, a lot of people who feel stuck like that. Hopefully I actually need to compile a list of books because I'm sure there's a few, at least a few that I want to send him that is in that same line of thinking of like all of these hard things. Because he might, I'm writing my book of Journey to Joy that goes along with this, but like I'm his sister. It's like kids and their parents. They hear it better from a random other person who's been through a similar thing. So.
So, do you have just one brother? Or I can't remember. Did you already say?
So I have one brother and so I mentioned my biological father. So I have a sister and then possibly another sibling that so my first book I ever wrote was a memoir. It's called Up the Downward Spiral. And that really is a cathartic book. That was I look at it now and I'm like that was still written from the hurt little girl. And I'm really glad that I wrote it. But it is with my maiden name. Like it's still on Amazon. Like, but people can look it up with Hailey Burke.
I'm interested. I'm interested.
It's a gritty read. And I've grown a lot as a writer since then, and it's perfect for what it was. But they read it. They all like my biological family. They read it.
Wow. Wow. That's
Listen, I had an ex whose parents and family. Actually, wait. I think an ex, and then also my husband now, his whole family like bought the book, and I was like, oh, this is very vulnerable for me.
holy cow.
But
Wow.
yeah,
I'm saying that I'm responding that way because I can write mine and most people are dead. They are. The teacher that abused me, he's dead. One of my best friends that was abused by that guy, he's dead. My dad is gone. It's like all this stuff. So it makes it easy. And I get it because I've been studying. My sister's a writer. She's great. She's a great writer. I thought I knew how to write. And I wrote my first chapter. I'm going to say all this because you'll like this too. And she said, well, let's, read to me the first paragraph. Right. And so I read the first paragraph. And she's like, that is not writing. And I thought, what are you like? Are you kidding me? Look what I wrote. This is like really great stuff. She's like, you don't even understand what you're doing. She said the first sentence is the most important thing in your book. The first sentence, and then the first paragraph, and then this, and I'm like, what? and now I understand. Now I understand. Matthew Perry's book. I read that 4 times. And it was very, very well written. If you haven't read that book, you would.
what book is it?
What's that?
What book? Matthew Perry?
Matthew Perry. It's called, what is it called? Something, and the something. Like I have it sitting over here.
Hold on.
What's incredible is he opens up his prologue. Hi, my name
Friends,
is Matthew.
Lovers, and Big Terrible Things.
Yes. And the way he wrote it is, it's like, and this is the way I'm going to do mine. And I'm going to use the speech thing instead of writing it, because when I write like a writer, but when I speech, it's just me, right? Like I'm doing right now. And when you read what he wrote, it was like him talking to you. You know what I mean? It was great that way. But the way he opened it up, this would not ruin the book for you because it'd be great to see. He says, "Hi, my name is Matthew. My friends call me Matt, and I should be dead." Yeah, does that not make you want to read the next sentence?
Immediately.
And he is dead, which
yeah,
it was a mind-blowing book. And then when you read, like, why would he say that? That first sentence is streamed through the entire book. And he was alive when he wrote it, and it is incredible. So anyway, I'm just learning how
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. So and when I run into people that write memoirs like you, I'm gonna read it, and I appreciate how you described where you were at when you wrote it, because all that makes a difference too.
Yeah. Like, so I can you still hear me okay? I want to make sure my microphone is working as I walk over here.
Yeah, you sound great. Cool. Hey everybody, you can get this from Amazon.com and.
So this is not my memoir. This is the Girl Boss Effect. So Carlin wasn't in it, and she needs to be in the next one. Oh, by the way, Carlin is one of the people that's been on the episode, and this is her smile shirt.
Of course, we did an episode.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Yeah.
Actually, she's in it. I had a chapter in this book, and so my whole life I've loved writing, but anytime like a teacher gave me feedback, they would just be like, be more descriptive, but it didn't click the way that the feedback from Sandy Bean, the founder of Girl Boss, had it click. I felt like I needed to write in this in this anthology of girl bosses. And I sent them in my essay, which is a very emotional essay. And if you want, I'll read it to you. It's not very long. Um, and she said, she gave me like one line of advice of just like starting in the middle, like start in the middle and then kind of backtrack to get where you are. And it just like clicked. I was like, that's it. You just got to be like exciting about the thing now, and then you can get to where you're at. But this is where I come from now, given that I've healed a lot, but still then experienced literally the hardest time of my life about a year and a half ago. Can I read it?
That's very
Yeah.
recent, and absolutely, I was going to ask you if it's okay. And I always say to my guests, we can always delete it if you don't like the question. But I would it would be a real honor if you read that, read
Yes.
whatever you want to us.
My chapter was named Water in the Desert. Between the gut-rattling hunger, the hospital, and my husband almost dying a few days before New Year's Eve, I couldn't stay still. I was shivering, my hands making the faintest scratching sounds as the pale desert that was my skin swishing as I fidgeted fearfully in the sterile environment of the ICU. I heard a beep that was different from the orchestra of tones coming out of blood pressure cuffs and heart monitors. It was a Facebook notification. Someone responded to my message in St. Pete Girl Boss. I was going to eat today. I remember the first time I came to a Friday coffee run by St. Pete Girl Boss. It wasn't something I just up and did. It took months of hearing about it through a couple of friends, seeing posts at 9:45 a.m., realizing I would definitely not make it in time. Then a couple of months of my son being in school for me to scrape myself from my excuses and go. I was late coming from Largo, feeling a little frazzled and nervous. I was bringing my toddler, and I felt like I was heading to my first day of high school. Were my clothes cute enough? Am I going to fit in? What if they don't like that I brought my baby? Am I enough of a business owner? At the time, my business was being a doula, and I have shifted from that
Oh
since then.
wow! I'm
Yes.
very familiar with that. Wow.
I love it, and one day I'll probably come back to it, but right now it's not the season.
Yeah.
The last one was a pretty silly question considering the fact that I am a business owner and have been for a few years, as if the amount of revenue I made validated me as what I definitely am. I thought I was going to learn about how to make my doula business better, and I've gained so much more. I've found myself, discovered new passions, and rediscovered old ones, and been supported through the hardest time of my entire life. That first coffee meeting, we ended up going upstairs and we're learning about ChatGPT. I was standing at a table with my daughter in a buckle carrier on my back, swaying back and forth, passing cheddar bunnies over my shoulder to hands covered in cheesy crumbs. A bubbly woman, literally and figuratively, you'll see, at the table with us, shared something about what she entered into ChatGPT. And in it, she mentioned something about smile shirts. I quietly asked, Smile shirts? What do you do? She handed me a card which read Carlin Shaw, Smile Starter. My mind practically exploded. I was inspired. I excitedly whispered, I started the smile movement 12 years ago, passing out cards. Um, Passing out cards to make people smile, and I called myself a smile maker. I took this as a sign that I was in the right place. St. Pete Girl Boss was now a fixture in my life. Little did I know how important it was. She helped entertain my daughter with bubbles, because she's the type of person who hands out tiny tubes of bubbles to create joy. I love her so much.
Yeah. So do I.
Little did she know, she reignited a flame inside of me. I hadn't made smile cards in years, and because of her, I have made hundreds more. Smile cards are printed on solar yellow paper with reminders of how loved you are and how worthy you are. I let people know that they're seen and appreciated. Solar yellow is bright and fun, and yellow has been shown to make people happy. The first time I handed them out 12 years ago in downtown St. Pete, I saw a guy who I perceived as someone who would not be interested in my bubbly little cards. He had a grimace on his face perpetually, or at least for the few minutes I was near him. I handed him one anyway. He chased me down through the park as I was handing them out. What's this on the back? He said, pointing to a fraction of a line in the corner of the back of the card. I showed him the other three cards with his. When you come together, you create love. Do I have all four of them right here?
Oh my gosh.
Where'd it go? And with the heart formed in the heart formed in the center of the cards. He got so excited. He followed me around through the whole park, making sure everyone I handed them to knew what the mark on the back was for. That was a big lesson for me, and I am so grateful for it. Giving people those moments of joy and love helped me realize that's what I want to do. Spreading joy has been at the heart of everything I've done over the years, even the jobs I didn't love. I created joy for my coworkers and people on the phones. Joy coach was what I landed on as a profession about a week before my entire life got turned upside down. And I found out why Girl Boss would truly be life-changing for me. I've got a couple more pages if it's okay if I continue. Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. On December 28, 2023, my husband went to the ER because he was having chest pain after what we thought was a cold or the flu. His fever wouldn't go down, and chest pain was the reason I said, no, we need to go. Because after Googling it and reading in bold letters, the number one reason to go in for a cold is chest pain. I didn't let him put it off. We got the kids fed and drove to the ER. I had our daughter in the same buckle carrier, and our son sat in a chair playing his Nintendo Switch. My husband was not the type to exaggerate pain, and he also had a pretty high pain tolerance. They took him back for test after test and back to the waiting room. He fell asleep in between tests. Then 8:30 came around and the kids were both falling asleep too. So I took them home, got them washed and in bed, and practically threw the baby monitor to my grandfather. I sped back to the hospital. They had him in an ER room and hooked up to all the monitors. His heart rate was so high, like he's a very healthy, normally person, and it was at about 128 laying there. Where? Oh, and his oxygen was super low, which is probably why he couldn't stay awake, and he was in terrible pain. He wanted to crawl out of his skin to get up and walk around, but his oxygen just wouldn't come up, even on the highest flow. Getting out of bed was the last thing he needed to be doing. One of the tests came back, along with a chest x-ray. He had pneumonia and was severely septic. They tried to see if the meds would work, and he could calm down for the next couple hours. The three-hour mark was approaching. Nothing was improving, and he was actually getting worse. At around midnight, the ER doctor came in and told us she thought my husband should have some medicine to rest and be put on a ventilator to give his body a chance to heal. As soon as he heard rest, after hours of being in pain and the strongest pain medication not even touching it, he enthusiastically said yes. He also said yes to the ventilator, but it didn't get real until a minute or two later when they brought all of those bags filled with accordion tubes and mouthpieces. They urgently had him sign several consent papers, and then they started taking me to another room to wait. It all happened so fast that I almost got whisked away before saying bye to him. I turned and ran back, tears in my eyes, because I needed to give him a kiss, and I was praying with everything in my being that it wasn't a kiss goodbye. I waited for the longest 3 hours of my life for them to get him to calm down with the sedation, and in those 3 hours, I unraveled. My best friend and a few friends who I have made at St. Pete Girl Boss began to show up for me on the digital realm. I went live and began sharing because it's all I could think to do. I also made a post in the Girl Boss group asking for support in whatever way it could come. Sandy Bean immediately asked how she could support, and people lined up to help, asking about the kids and food and literally anything. An amazing girl boss named Nicole brought me food to the ICU and sat with me and connected until I felt like I really had to go back in the room because he might wake up or move or change. So this is more, the ending is more about Girl Boss, but like he got put, like that was when he was still at Morton Plant, the same hospital also that I was born at and my son was born at. They wanted to bay flight him. They wanted to airlift him to another hospital because of something they called ECMO, which I didn't know was life support. They said it's another machine that we would like to have in case he needs it. And the call that I got at 6 o'clock the next morning, 'cause after they like got him in, I saw him after he was all sedated and everything. I went home because I was like, I need to get some sleep because I have to come back again and do all this. I'm going to be here as soon as I can. I got the call at 6:30 in the morning, and the nurse said, when are you planning on coming in? And I said, well, I was going to get the kids all situated um, and then I was going to come in. She said, I think you should probably come in sooner. And that's like not what you want to hear. That's like,
No.
that's terrifying. So my mom came over relatively abruptly, which I'm really grateful for, because even though we've had our troubled past, she's grown a lot in the last few years. I would say longer than a few years, but it's been a wave. Um, which is interesting that I use that word because the next thing that I was going to mention was a wave. Um, I got there and my like the nurse that was on the phone saw me and she said like she saw me and she said, "Oh, honey," and she gave me a hug and I like hadn't had a hug yet from anybody. Like I'd just been dealing with all this stuff and didn't want to like take a hug from the kids because I knew that it was being a taker in that moment. And also, I have compassionate kids that really showed me like that I'm doing a good job with how they're like, I know it's hard sometimes, mommy, because they saw me like
Oh,
trying really hard to just stay like, okay. Um, but I wasn't like just trying to make sure everyone stayed okay. Um, and yeah, she had her gloves on, but I saw like this ring and it looked like a wave. And my husband has a wave tattoo like right here, like just a little simple, almost like this, but just like a little bit shorter. And she said, "Yeah." Oh, and she flipped her hand over and she said, "Yeah, it's a wave." And I was like, he needs to be here. Like it was just a constant affirmation of this is exactly where he needs to be. And he got sent over to St. Joseph's and they took care of him he was on a ventilator for 7 days in a coma. And when you're on a ventilator, when you're put on a ventilator because of an infection, your chance of death goes to like 86%. And if it is because of a fever or a respiratory infection, that chance of death goes up even more. He had like a 10% chance of survival, and it is a literal miracle that he is good. Um, but that was literally like I've been through literally wrote a book about all the hard things I went through in life. And that was I would rather deal with all of the traumas I dealt with in my whole life than deal with that again. Because that was very, very scary. But throughout it all, leaning on support of people who are safe and being vulnerable in a different way than I was vulnerable as a kid, like because I would cling to my trauma. I was definitely like vulnerable, but really just oversharing because I needed someone to understand. But that's not really where I needed to be at the core of it. I needed to just love myself. Um, but I was vulnerable in a way that allowed people to care for and love me, which I think also had to kind of bring into I'm worthy of this care and love. And people don't always realize that. They don't always realize that they are deserving, especially moms. I feel like moms have a real hard time
yeah,
remembering that they are worthy of the same care that they
that's right.
elicit to other
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but he's got the hospital band up on the wall over there, like, though I feel like we need to move it because he got a shoe thing, like a shoe tower, and it's not really visible. He needs to remember still. It can be easy to go back into complacency after life gets back on lifing, just to
How
remember,
long
like,
ago was that written? When did you write that?
I wrote that about a year ago,
Oh, that's
maybe.
recent. It's recent.
Yeah, yeah, it was only published. It was published, I think, in January, and I wrote it maybe 6 months before that. So
How's he now?
he is amazing.
Wow.
At his follow-up appointments, the doctors would like look at his chart and then look at him and his vitals currently and look at his chart. It's the same person. Like it literally was just so crazy. Um, and because of that, because they were trying to figure out why the heck it was just a cold. Like it wasn't COVID, it wasn't RSV, it was literally a cold. And he must have had walking pneumonia and it just sent him over. Um, and I don't think it was because of this, but he had an underlying infection that he didn't know about from something like a uh, something else that I don't know if he really wants to talk about. But if he didn't have this whole thing happen, he wouldn't have known about that. But he's now cured of that. Like, so all of the things are always working out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
they
like,
do.
man, that was crazy. And he really is. He's fine. He's amazing.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you two?
I am 33. I'm gonna be 34 in October, but
You're young. You're so young.
he's 37. Like,
He's young too.
yeah, yeah, it was the craziest thing. And when I actually went to the ER for something else for me, and someone was doing an ultrasound for something, and she oh, I said, I'm just really anxious because like this happened. So, and she said, was he like in his 30s? And she asked like who it was, and she's like, I helped him, and I looked up and saw what was going on with him later because it made me very nervous. Like her husband is like around the same age, and I was like, yeah, no, it was freak stuff, and he's amazing. Like these nurses months later were like thinking about it. Um, Also, a positive thing to do for nurses, anytime you're in the hospital or have visiting
Oh
someone,
yeah.
bring candy. They love candy.
Well, I've been saying this a lot in my other shows and probably need to stop talking about it, but when I went through my brain surgery, I relate to a lot of what he went through because I had no idea before that I was having problems. I had no idea, and this is the whole thing in itself. And I was given the most amazing, not amazing thing. I mean, a couple things scared me. One was when they showed me the picture of what was in my head. I couldn't believe it. And my sister, who's in Canada, she was a registered nurse for years, and she's just excellent. She wanted to be on Facebook video to be in that meeting with the surgeon. And as it turned out, the surgeon, his two nurses, my sister, they're all talking medical stuff. And I'm like, I don't get it. And I'm like, hey, I'm the guy with the brain problem. Can you include me in this conversation?
Yeah.
But it was a real blessing for me to have her involved because she knew the backstory, and she was explaining to them how I've changed. And I was listening to her. And afterwards, I said, you never said any of that to me. And she said, you were never going to receive that. Like I have tried. You would not receive what I've tried to tell you. And I get it now. And then he told me that I have to tell you, there's a percentage that you won't make it. And I just couldn't believe it when he told me that. I just like, there's a percentage and so it just really changed my life when I went through that. It still is. But I really appreciate you sharing all that with me. We're coming to the end. We're at the end. There's so many questions I have for you, and I've been saying to all my guests we should do another episode if you're interested, because I would love to talk to you more about what you're doing, where you want to go, and your story as well. Which would be this has been a great episode.
I'm happy to talk more, period. Because I know like my story is intertwined with other people's stories, and like for me, really at the core of it is just a constant remembering for myself that I can give myself grace when things are hard. Taking naps is a thing that I have recently discovered that we
I
should
do it all
all
the
try to
time
do.
ever since. Yeah, I do it all the time.
Reset. It's a good reset. You're having a hard day, like lots going on. Just take a quick nap. Like just boop, press the reset button.
Yeah.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
When we met, I like how we met and talked before we decided to do a show, which is really great. Get to know each other. And we're in a similar parallel where there's a lot we're doing. Like when I look at your website and YouTube channel, it's so great. And so the question is always like, where you, and I asked you this before we started, what are you doing? Where you want to go? And the answer is the same as where I'm at. There's a lot I have out there, and I don't have the answer yet to that. But I'm on the way, and I love connecting with people who are in that journey. I'm certainly not into talking about, hey, I plan on this and I plan on that. I used to be that way. Now I take one day at a time, and I want to use what has been given to me in my life to give back to other people. It's the same as you. That's why I like having this podcast. That's why I did it. So just one of the last things I want to ask you is, and I asked you before we did this, but I'd be curious to hear you say it again. So with what you have out there, and the links to your website and your YouTube channel, all that are going to be in this on the YouTube channel and in the all the other platforms you can find. But where are you hoping to go? Where do you want to do with this? Like if you in the next year, next 3 years, 5 years, what you have a dream for that? You have a plan?
So, yes, and today we're actually going to check out a property, because what I had mentioned in a message about like what we're doing, we want to open a business. Something that's kind of been in the works for over a decade. We kind of been talking about it, and like recently we decided that we're gonna do it. We have our LLC registered. I designed ChatGPT helped me design a really beautiful logo.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go check out a space, and I asked the universe and God, like the creator of all the things, I just want this to work out in the best possible way. And then literally the same day, the landlord called because he has two spots, like a 2,000 square foot place and a 1,000 square foot. And the 2,000 is all shiny, like, oh, I could put so many things in here. And he said, I really want to find someone who can put a full service restaurant in there. I don't want to run a full service restaurant. That sounds like a headache to me. It sounds like a lot of people and a lot of feelings.
Oh,
and
that's a whole, it's
it's a
career.
whole different thing.
Yeah.
So the other space, I had to brood over that for a second. I was like, I got all excited about this thing. It would have also been a stretch financially. The smaller place is literally more doable on the short term and the long run. We can get more profit because of it being smaller space and less money rent wise. But also the sign that I ignored in the beginning, when we walked into the smaller space, it says make your own magic. There's like a stamp on the ground. It says make your own magic. Like, you don't need the giant space. You can make a smaller space perfect and magical. And I ignored it then because I was like, ooh, shiny, big stuff. And literally like hours after I asked, the landlord confided that we really do like your idea and like think it's going to be awesome, but we want to find someone for this restaurant space. And so it almost
restaurant space. And what's the other space for?
So we want to open a kava bar. So coffee shop, kava bar.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully Kratom stays legal and we can win that. But that's the space. Like, I have over 10 years experience in that. It's a place of community. And like, literally I get to just constantly be the space for people to have joy at a safe space. Like, they can create friendships. Like, I met my husband at a kava bar, like when I was working there. And
I've met so many people at coffee shops.
Yeah,
I love coffee shops.
It's the whole vibe. And it's on the beach. And like, while some people might be like, oh, are you sure about the beach? Like, yes, I know we had a hurricane and it was terrible. And I'm not going to stop like this idea is like, it's the beach. Like, that's why it's Florida. And eventually one day this won't be where the sea level is, but then we'll just go to a different spot.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I didn't know that. That is.
Yeah. So today we're going to re-look at it. Like, because my brain was like setting it all up in the big space. And now I want to go look at the smaller space and like measure out to see how big a ping pong table is and like hold it across the space and like just kind of repiece it together. But like, I'm like 99.9% sure we're going to be like, yes, please, we would like to do this now.
Are you posting anything about that? We're going to look at this.
Not
we're
yet.
going to look at that.
No,
okay, so you just did it on my show. You just did it here.
Yeah.
We'll have to do this again. I would love to do this again. I would love to turn the page, and I have so many more questions for you. Get to know you more, and if you're interested in sharing your story more with people,
100%.
and growing what you do, it would be great. It's incredible how, I was telling you before the show that there's two of my previous guests were in the Legacy Masters thing that I got chosen for and I turned down because I need to heal more. And then, with Carlin, I'm in constant contact with her. I met her in Denver here. I went to her stranger, what's it called? Strangers and Friends? Strangers to Friends. I went to, we were at a bar there, and it was just such a great time. And we used to get together and go for coffee. And we did the episode last week. And I think we went for a long time. It was great. And she's such a wonderful friend, and it'll be probably another couple of weeks before it goes up, but you'll enjoy that show for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's also why I was like, all right, he's got to edit this. Like, it's gonna be at least like we're gonna have at least known if we're gonna do it at this location before it's shared to the world.
One thing I'm grateful for with doing. I've never done so many episodes because I did 2 years, and I didn't know I was struggling from brain challenges, and in those 2 years I only did like 10 episodes. I had 20 episodes all done, and then I've done 20 episodes in 2 months. Is what I've done now. So by the time I'm finished, the first group of people that I've got in, it'll be over 50 episodes. So I want to hit 100 this year easily, and there's a reason why I'm doing that now. And the great thing is I can edit it now in like 30 minutes. It used to take me 6 to 8 hours. Unbelievable, because it just drove me nuts. Because I understand. I gotta send it out to someone, have them do it. Because I'm really into marketing and branding, and it just looks good and it's just great. And I was like, it takes so much work. But now it's like 30 minutes, bang, I'm done. So I'm glad I went through this. It's been great. Hailey, this has been really, really nice. I thank you for reading from your book and just sharing your part of your life story with us, with with people that are in your life, and we haven't heard of your story yet, I'm definitely going to get your book. I'm definitely going to get your book. I'm very curious to read that, and I want to write a memoir about my life as well. My documentary's coming first, and then memoir second. But I'm learning from people that have already done it. So maybe you can give me tips as I go along.
I'll give you tips. I love helping people piece together their physical stories.
And we can do that. So thank you so very much. I'm really grateful for taking the time to do this with us today.
Me too. It's been awesome.